and welcome to Afflictions Sugarcoated, a podcast where we sugarcoat some of the world's so called afflictions and rate its plausibility out of a scale of 1 to 5. I'm Minnie Kim, and today we will be sugarcoating procrastination. So, why procrastination? I'm writing this a little more than 10 days before the publishing date, and I am recording this 8 days before the publishing date, which I don't know about you, but feels to me a little too late to be doing this since I have an entire month to prepare. But here we are, and since I ran out of topics to sugarcoat, I just decided why not take a real life instance and apply it here, which I know it sounds absurd, but let's just go with it. So, Charles Dickens said that procrastination is the thief of time, and indeed it is. I mean, we characterize what we do while procrastinating, right? So, like, usually what we do during procrastinating, we typically scroll through our phone doing like anything other than what you should be doing. And when Dickens says the thief of time, I think he means that society has set a standard of what is productive and what is unproductive. Like, me doing this right now would be considered productive. Me not doing my homework would be unproductive. But still, we're here, so we'll just go with it. And in fact, it isn't a thief of time, but it's merely a bad use of precious time. Like, we can't characterize this as the thief of time. In real life, you can't really steal time. Stealing time would be very, very cool for a science fiction novel. And yes, I get it, I'm overthinking what Dickens is saying, but this is generally speaking the thief of time isn't really a thief of time. And as humanity likes to dramatize things, it's the same damn thing. A bad use of precious time and the thief of time. That's what Dickens is characterizing, and that's what we're going with today. And there are a bunch of motivation videos saying all of the cliche stuff like, oh, procrastination is bad, you should envision your future and motivation will come. And in the end, when you look at your future and see yourself going to Harvard or seeing yourself like getting a dream job, a high-paying job, making a family, like basically achieving the American dream, you will be motivated. And if the world worked that way, how perfect would it be? Insofar as a person clicking the video is not a procrastinator, that won't really work, right? I recently read a book called Atomic Habits by James Clear. It's a pretty useful book, I would say. It's solid in regards to wellness and general lifestyle. I mean, I haven't really applied any of his written techniques, but I'll try someday. My sister read it before me, and she started waking up at 6, 2 weeks or 1 week after she gave up, so maybe his book isn't for long-term things, but at least that's what my sister did, so maybe she'll get back to the style. But I'm not ready to wake up at 6 every single day, so I'll pass on that. And the irony is that the people who want to know how not to procrastinate may not even finish the book because they're so busy procrastinating. Like, that's the irony of every single wellness book. Like a podcast or something. A podcast. Let's take a podcast, for example, just for the sake of this podcast. You save a bunch of podcasts hoping you'll listen to them, and then you never do because you've run out of time for some reason, or you're just not in the mood. And whenever you say, oh, I'm not in the mood to do homework, it's just that you don't want to. Nothing related to your mood, nothing related to the situation. It's just you procrastinating. It's just your brain wired to procrastinate. No excuses. But yeah, I'm once again procrastinating, so I'm dissing myself right now. And the point here is that the art of procrastination cannot be defeated. Procrastination will always prevail in any way, any form, any shape, because, I mean, our minds are inherently wired to do anything other than something that is time consuming or hard. As James Clear said, make it satisfying, make it easy, etc. That's hard to do. And although he spends a bunch of his time explaining it, I personally do not find it that helpful because things just don't work that way, I guess. But it may work for some people. I don't know. I'm just speaking from personal like opinion, etc. and experience. So work that qualifies as productive is too often difficult. Whenever we do work, whenever we do homework, we study, we work. That's hard, generally. That's why we avoid it. And that's a mistake too late to fix. You can't make work satisfying. You can't make work easy. The definition of work is that you have to work on it. Too often, that's difficult. And it must be realized that no matter how hard you try, there will always be a breakdown or a mental halt in which you just stop thinking, and that happens once in a while. I talked about this in my episode about not Great Expectations, that's a book, High Expectations, and I talked about how whenever you set a standard for yourself, you set a high standard, or people set high standards for you, that often causes you to break down because those high goals, they're not attainable, they're not feasible, and you still chase towards it because you believe that there's one singular goal will finish everything. It's basically an impossible pursuit of perfection, yet you still pursue it. So, I mean, you can't say anything about that until you actually fail, and then you regret it. That's generally how things work in society right now, in human minds, etc. And it is true, we all have bad days. I feel like I talk about this a lot, maybe because I'm a student who often has bad days, but maybe let's stop thinking about breakdowns. We all have bad days. Those bad days are because we don't feel productive. We procrastinate. We feel bad about ourselves because for some reason maybe you got told off. Maybe you had a fight. But in the end, you feel bad about yourself. That's the definition of a bad day. Or maybe you just feel like it's a bad day. I don't know. But there's no real way to fix that. When you lie down on your bed and you go to sleep and you can't go to sleep because it was such an unproductive day, it makes you feel guilty. And guilt does not pair well with the human mind. It never does. That's why we apologize for the things we did wrong. That's why we have empathy, sympathy, etc. But sometimes you just cannot stop procrastinating. I honestly don't know why. I need to know the science behind it. Once again, I wasn't really in the mood to search the science behind procrastination, but still, it still happened. And I know for a simple fact that it's hard not to procrastinate, and that's why we have bad days. Okay, so before I get onto this, I just realized that I erased a 9-minute worth of this ranting about how procrastination is good. So this will go worse than I expected. So let's just get onto it. I mean, it's all in consensus. We can all agree that procrastination is bad. It's pretty bad. We can't really do anything about it. Oh well, it's done. It's like we're literally being chased by a giant clock, a monster, and the only way to actually get rid of that monster is to turn back and say no. That's the only way. But I don't know if you've noticed, but it's kind of hard to stop when someone's chasing you. Say like literally stop in your tracks, turn back and say no. That's just impossible. Like human nature forbids that as a whole. So I hope that little metaphor kind of brought it all and summed it up. But looking at this in a plain manner, I see no way to sugarcoat this. I mean, procrastination, bad. The only thing I can say is that procrastination is another affliction in daily life, and it is absolutely terrifying. The fact that we're wasting our time, our precious time, and I say precious because life is indeed short, we are literally wasting our 70 to 80 years on our phones while this does. And I guess it would bring us joy. It's simply not enough. We can all agree that it's not enough to spend our lives, like, I don't want to do the math, but a lot of hours, days, months as a total, years maybe, on our phones, feeling self-conscious about ourselves, and then going back and then sitting down and lying down and thinking about the day and then just seeing videos about cats and dogs and etc. and messaging your friends about really, really useless stuff. I think that's what happens also. And generally, yes, texting friends, meeting friends, watching videos, it's all fun. It includes it we need this once in a while. We need to have a social life, and I'm not against that at all. But what I mean by this is that people are too often disappointed in their deathbed. I don't want to really talk about deathbeds all that much, but it I would hope to think that I have maybe a short flashback of my life before I die. I mean, I don't know if it's scientifically proven, but it has been featured in some books, and obviously those are all fiction books. But a lot of people do have flashbacks of their lives, and I would like to not just think of these moments. We can agree that if you peed yourself in third grade or second grade or whatever grade, you would remember that. Embarrassing moments last in our heads, and we too often remember all the bad things, all the bad days that we had, not the good days. Maybe the good days, but I like to think that I hate losing more than I love winning. I'm pretty sure that's a quote from somewhere, maybe Moneyball, but that's just a simple fact. I hate losing more than I love winning. And those losing and failing moments last in my head, linger around, and haunt me. And people have flashbacks of their lives, and simply put, they're dissatisfied. So when we do procrastinate, we're simply using that time to do what we desire. That would be the single sugarcoating line. We're simply using that time to do what we desire. Like, we want to do what we want. We don't want to study sometimes. I don't know about you guys, but sometimes, some days when I wake up, I feel like I can take on the whole world. Some days when I wake up, I seriously cannot get out of bed. And I'm pretty sure that happens to almost everyone. So the best way to think about this is that procrastination, we're expressing our free will and we're enjoying life. We are simply enjoying life, texting friends, we're making social connections and interactions. We are taking human evolution to the next level. And that's a good sugarcoating or I don't know, a statement. It's a good statement, except that it's mostly not true. There's a phrase called live, love, laugh. So a lot of people live by this phrase. I mean, it's pretty simple. Live. I mean, you gotta live in the first place. Love the people surrounding you. Love the people that love you back. Simply requited love, right? And laugh. Just release those endorphins and be happy, I guess. And this is often known to be the purpose of life, the meaning of life. If we can't achieve that by having carbon copy productive days, I mean, when exactly do we laugh when we have a productive day? Because I personally define productive days as days without resting, days constantly working, never feeling burned out, just burning that midnight oil all day and just being dogged, right? Showing dogged determination. And I, for one, would rather scroll through my phone and live, love, laugh, right? I mean, who would want to feel failed and feel like the whole world is imploding just because they didn't have one carbon copy productive day? That's insane, yet I still live by that standard. A lot of people still do live by that standard. And sometimes we do. Sometimes we do need carbon copy productive days, and that makes us feel good. I mean, who wouldn't feel good after a long productive day? But sometimes if we try to achieve it but then can't attain it, then that's even worse. And I can't do anything about that. So, although this seems like such a useless solution to a perpetual waste of time, although it seems like a giant blob of darkness, like in the abyss, coming towards and chasing you, and the only way to get rid of it and have a good day is to stop and say no, that's not the case most of the time. It's better than preaching motivation. Motivation is too rarely hard, it's too rarely complex, and it's too rarely complicated. We cannot attain it easily, and I think that was the point of James Clear's book. Preaching motivation, it's nice sometimes, but when you preach something, you most likely have to follow it. Motivation doesn't come in a snap. It doesn't come when you blink. It doesn't come when you just pull it out of a genie's bottle. None of that happens. It's something that comes and goes, like a wave. And personally, and I believe everyone listening to this, you can't do that. No one can just snap and bring out motivation. At least this way of procrastinating, you feel a little better about yourself. I said this last time too, but good days matter, and I would like to feel better about myself, even if it's through procrastination, even if it's through this BS about like expressing your free will. None of that actually matters. What matters is that you live, love, laugh. And that can be achieved by procrastination. So let's stop pulling this negative connotation on procrastination. Sometimes it can save you, sometimes it can save lives, and sometimes it can destroy and prevail in that battle of a carbon copy day. I give the sugarcoating of procrastination a 3. This podcast was written and produced by me, Minnie Kim. If you have any comments or reviews, feel free to write any and all thoughts on your podcast reviews. It really helps if you do. And if you would like to suggest an affliction for me to sugarcoat, please email me via afflictionssugarcoated@gmail.com. Again, that's afflictionssugarcoated@gmail.com. The spelling's a little tricky, but please do try to email me. And hope you had a nice time. And after a month of procrastinating, I will be back with a new episode.